The annual CEO's Gala glittered brighter than any event that year, unfolding in the grand ballroom of a luxury downtown hotel. Golden light from crystal chandeliers spilled across polished marble floors, dancing off sequined gowns and polished shoes. The air shimmered with the clink of champagne flutes and the low murmur of laughter as the city's most powerful executives and their partners mingled with effortless grace. My wife, Clara, was a vision in emerald green, her laughter weaving seamlessly into the soft hum of a live jazz band. As a mid-level executive, I felt like I'd finally crossed a threshold, an invitation to the kind of night that whispered of future promotions and quiet power. Together, Clara and I moved from group to group, exchanging polite smiles and careful pleasantries. Our expressions were rehearsed, but genuine enough to pass. Everything seemed perfect. Until it wasn't. Halfway through the evening, I spotted Richard Hale cutting through the crowd like a shark through still water. One of our company's biggest clients, he was impossible to ignore, broad-shouldered, commanding, dressed in a suit that likely cost more than my month's salary. I stood taller, ready to impress. But his eyes weren't on me. They were on Clara. "You," he said sharply, pointing straight at her. The room's easy chatter seemed to fade, or maybe it was just the thunder of my pulse. "You're the one who cost me millions." Clara's radiant smile faltered. Confusion clouded her features as the color drained from her cheeks. I instinctively stepped closer, fingers tightening around hers. "I'm sorry, Mr. Hale," I managed, forcing my voice to stay calm. "There must be some kind of mistake." His lip curled. "No mistake. She was in the negotiation last year, advising your team. Her advice tanked the deal." For a heartbeat, I couldn't even process it. Clara? A designer, not a strategist. She had nothing to do with any negotiations. I turned to her, expecting an immediate denial. But her expression was pale, stricken. "Richard, I've never worked on your deals," she said, voice trembling but steady. Hale's laugh was sharp and humorless. "Don't pretend. I saw you there, whispering to your boss in the boardroom." The accusation hung heavy in the air, drawing curious glances from nearby guests. My chest burned with anger. Clara couldn't have been there, she'd been on maternity leave during that time. But Hale's conviction was absolute, his tone loud enough to make our humiliation complete. I had to shut it down. I murmured excuses, guiding Clara away from the circle of spectators, and pulled her into a quieter corner. "What is he talking about?" I hissed. Her wide eyes met mine. "I don't know. I've never met him before tonight." Her voice cracked, and despite everything, I believed her. Still, doubt gnawed at me. Hale wasn't a man known for mistakes. If he was wrong, why was he so sure? The music played on, but the air around us felt heavy, the warmth gone. I tried to confront Hale again, but he was already at the bar, deep in conversation with my boss, the CEO. I caught fragments: betrayal, sabotage, trust. My stomach dropped. If Hale's accusations stuck, it wouldn't just be Clara's name on the line. My career could crumble too. When I returned to her, she sat still, eyes fixed on her drink. "He must have mistaken me for someone else," she whispered. "But who?" The rest of the night blurred into whispers and sidelong glances. By the time we slipped out into the cool night air, the story had already spread. In the car, silence pressed between us. Clara's hands twisted in her lap. "I need to know what's going on," I said, my tone sharper than I meant. She flinched. "I swear, Mark, I don't know." Her voice was small, afraid. And for the first time, uncertainty crept in, an unwelcome sliver of doubt. The next morning, I dove into company archives. The deal Hale mentioned was from last year, a merger I'd never touched. As expected, Clara's name was nowhere in the records. But one detail stopped me cold: a consultant listed as Claire Thompson. Clara's maiden name. It had to be coincidence. Still, my gut twisted. When I called her, she sounded shaken. I don't know anyone else named that, she said softly. Then, after a pause, Mark, I'm scared. What if this ruins us? I spent days tracking down the real Claire Thompson, a freelance strategist who had briefly consulted on the deal. She looked nothing like my wife, but the name overlap had been enough to spark Hale's mistake. I met with him again, evidence in hand. You've got the wrong person, I said, placing the file before him. He barely glanced at it. Mistake or not, he replied coolly, the damage is done. Her name's already tainted, and so is yours. His words hit harder than any accusation. After that night, nothing felt the same. At work, conversation stopped when I walked by. The CEO's trust in me had thinned to a thread. And at home, Clara's laughter, once effortless, was gone. The humiliation, the doubt, the whispers, they lingered like smoke. We held on to each other, but not as tightly as before. The gala, meant to be a celebration, had instead shown us how fragile everything really was. In the end, it wasn't Richard Hale's mistake that haunted us most. It was the truth we couldn't escape, that one false accusation could unravel everything we'd built, our reputations, our careers, even our faith in each other.